In case you are not familiar with the face, Timothy Antoine, Governor, ECCB. I want to extend again, as I said, a very warm welcome to all members of the media across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, and I want to thank you for taking the time to join us this afternoon. Before I continue, let me recognize our Deputy Governor, Dr. Valda Henry, who is also the chair of our 40th Anniversary Planning Committee, and you will hear from her shortly. I also recognize around the room some of our country managers who have opened their offices to members of the media in our member countries. And of course, I recognize those who are here in St. Kitts at headquarters who have joined us physically. This afternoon, we wanted to take the opportunity to give you an exclusive look, if you will, at the calendar of events for our 40th anniversary. As some of you know by now, ECCB will formally be 40 on the 1st of October we established 1st of October 1983, and come 1st of October this year, 2023, we will formally be 40 years old. And so, as you know, on January 19th, we launched our celebrations with a very special event, and I thank all of you who participated and supported us in that event. At that time, we did consider having a media session, but we thought perhaps it would be best to do it separately, subsequently, to give you an exclusive opportunity to be able to hear from us and us from you. Since the launch, we have in fact received several inquiries from media houses, and we thought, again, it would be appropriate for us if we made arrangements to have this special session. So that reinforced in our view, in our minds, the need for us to do this as soon as we could. So today, we're very pleased to be able to have this opportunity to share with you our calendar of events for this special milestone of 40th anniversary. And we want to do two things. We want to put you in the loop, bring you in, give you that exclusive look, and we also want to solicit your support for the events throughout the year, given the special significance of this milestone, not just for ECCB, but for all the residents and citizens of our currency union. So with that, I especially again thank you for making the time, members of the media, and with that, I am pleased to pass the microphone to our Deputy Governor and Chair of our Planning Committee. DG is actually, Deputy Governor is traveling, and so she's not with us physically. She's joining us virtually from one of our member countries. And I'm pleased at this time to offer the microphone to our Deputy Governor and Chair of our Planning Committee. DG, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Governor. I am here. Good afternoon to the media. Somehow my camera isn't working. It says it cannot detect the camera, but after I present, I might switch on the platform to get to Zoom and see the platform. But I'll proceed as is.
Right. The good news, DG, is that we're hearing you clearly so far. So that's good while we get the camera sorted. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So again, good afternoon, Governor. Good afternoon to all of the media houses represented across our ECCU. Good afternoon to ECCB members at headquarters and across all our ECCU member countries and our agency offices. It is for me a pleasure to present to you the ECCB 40th anniversary calendar of events under the theme Celebration and Implementation. 2023 will be our year of implementation. I present the calendar as is, but bear in mind that we may change some events, include or delete as the year goes by. But as of now, we go. So we've done January, so we are now in February. Our next main event will be on the 28th of February 2023, when we launch the inaugural ECCB at 40 lecture series in Anguilla. The theme will be the food security, blue and green economy. Later in that month, and most likely on that same day, we will also be launching our digital banners across the ECCU. or anniversary banners. So that takes us February. We come down to March, and in most of the months we have free events that recur, and they are ECCB at 40 Spotlight Radio Program. ECCB hosts a regular weekly radio program, and once a month the spotlight will be on ECCB at 40. The second event is the ECCB at 40 Did You Know series. That event will be released from the 1st of March. Every week we will have a different Did You Know series that will run for the week. That will be run across all our ECCU member countries and for the media for you. There will also be the ECCB at 40 lecture series taking place in a different country. So in February, we start off with Anguilla. In March, we go to Antigua and Barbuda. And our topic for this lecture series on the 23rd of March is Transforming Health and Wellness, Use of Traditional Medicines. The topic again, Transforming Health and Wellness, Use of Traditional Medicines. And the color we focus is the silver economy. I should backtrack and say the ECCB at 40 lecture series runs under the general theme, the colorful economy. So in Anguilla, dealing with food security, we look at the blue and the green economy come February 28th. Thank you, CRD, for putting a picture of me in the meantime. In April, we do, again, ECCB at 40 Spotlight Radio Program, ECCB at 40 Did You Know series, and our lecture in April takes place in St. Lucia. The topic, Powering a Modern St. Lucia, focusing on the green and the gold economy. So powering a modern St. Lucia, the green and the golden economy. May, Spotlight Radio Program, ECCB at 40 Did You Know series, ECCB at 40 lecture series number 4, taking place in Grenada. The topic, Medical Tourism, Prerequisites and Prospects, the blue, the orange, and the green economy. Coming down to June, currency, there will be features, reflections, and conversations with past employees as well as persons who played a significant role in ECCB's history. Much more will be said on that in the question and answer, I would assume. In July, ECCB at 40 Spotlight Radio Program, ECCB at 40 Did You Know series, and ECCB at 40 Lecture Series number 6, taking place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That will take place on July 20th, and the theme, Education and Training, Skills for the 21st Century. The color, yellow, and the green economy showcased. ECCB at 40 Virtual Museum Promotion. So we'll be having a few months of promoting the virtual museum, encouraging persons to visit the museum. We will also launch in July the ECCB at 40 Reflections and Conversations with staff past and present, as well as with other key persons who have contributed to the history of the bank. In August, ECCB at 40 Spotlight Radio Program, ECCB at 40 Did You Know series, ECCB at 40 Virtual Museum Promotion, and ECCB at 40 Reflections and Conversations. No lecture series taking place in August, considering that August is a month when most people travel and so on. Come to September, ECCB at 40 Spotlight Radio Program, ECCB at 40 Did You Know series, ECCB at 40 Lecture Series number 7, taking place in the Commonwealth of Dominica, and the theme on the lecture series takes place on the 21st of September. And the topic, Leveraging the Nature Isle, or Unleashing Dominica as the Nature Isle, the Orange Economy. We will also in September introduce the ECCB at 40 School Quiz. So a quiz, something like a family feud concept, with the schools across the ECCU member states, targeting 4 formers, 3 formers, and the 6 formers. There will also be the ECCB at 40 virtual museum promotion and ECCB at 40 reflections and conversations. In October, and October is our anniversary month, 1st of October 2023, we will celebrate our 40th anniversary as the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. And so October 1st, we will have the ECCB at 40 church service. On that very day, we'll also have the ECCB at 40 Family Fun Day. We will also be featuring the ECCB at 40 Spotlight radio program, ECCB at 40 Did You Know series, ECCB at 40 virtual museum promotion, and we will also introduce on the 20th of October, the ECCB at 40 Creative Arts Festival and Island Night, where we'll be featuring the music, the food from the different countries, our member countries, as well as our artists, both performing visual and, I guess, creative artists on that day. So it will be a full day event, a creative arts festival and island night. In November, ECCB at 40 Spotlight radio program, ECCB at 40 Did You Know series, ECCB at 40 virtual museum promotion. November, we have our global conference. So the lecture series ends with a ECCB at 40 global conference in St. Kitts and Nevis, our headquarters country. That conference spans 3 days, the 8th to the 10th of November. On the 8th, the evening of the 8th, we will host the Sir Arthur Memorial Lecture, as well as a cocktail on that evening, starting at 6:30. On the 9th, we will be at the conference continues on the 9th, ECCB at 40 Global Conference, but we will also launch on the 9th the ECCB Policy Handbook. So on the 9th, there will be a big event with the launch of the ECCB Policy Handbook. And on the 10th, the conference continues, but there will also be excursions on St. Kitts and Nevis, giving our visitors, because we anticipate for the global conference, we'll have a number of visitors, not just from across our ECCU countries, but throughout the Caribbean as well as globally, and to give them a feel and taste of the country. There will be excursions planned for the 10th of November on that day. And then we come down to December, bringing our year of celebration to an end. And that is on the 9th of November. We will have the ECCB at 40 Gala and Award ceremonies, and well as there will be a thank you fete for all the hard work done by all the various persons to make the ECCB at 40 year of celebration and implementation a success. So while there will be lots of celebrations as we celebrate 40, a milestone year, our color being ruby, the focus will be on implementation. Implementation to ensure that our goal for our region, where we advance the good of the people of the region, our goals are realized or being realized, where our people will thrive. And with that, I come to the end of the presentation of the conference. Calendar of events. I'm going to try to come in through another platform, to join the webinar. Right. So you might be able to see in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Governor, for that excellent overview of our year of celebrations for our 40th anniversary. And may I take this opportunity to record my heartfelt thanks to you as chair of the committee and all the members of the committee who have been working really hard to put this calendar together, and colleagues across the bank who are actually working hard to implement or execute these events. As you can see, members of the media, we have a packed year. We're trying to do a lot, and as the Deputy Governor said, there could be 1 or 2 additions and adjustments. There's still a couple of events that are being looked at, but we wanted to give you an early feel for what you could expect throughout this year. For members of the media who just joined, let me welcome you and thank you for joining us today. We have two objectives from this session today. One, to take you into our confidence, as it were, in respect of what we plan for the year, having done the launch in January 19. And second, to enlist your support for these celebrations. Because, to be quite honest, as much as we have a lot to celebrate, we want to have or use the year as an opportunity for education. Not just information, education. What is the ultimate quest? Transformation. And so a lot of the activities we have are aimed at raising the consciousness of our people about what the currency union is and means to them, and what is their role in ensuring we continue to push for a not just striving but thriving currency union. That is important for us. So it is not just a big party all year. That's why we say a year of celebration and implementation. There's lots of work to be done in this post-pandemic era. And so we want to just keep that in focus as we go throughout the year. So the Deputy Governor has presented the calendar. You should have received an email version of that. If you have not, you will receive that. Our intention is to have that available to you now so that you can in real time see what we are speaking about. I want to recognize as well Ms. Valencia Grant, who is in the room. Ms. Grant is chairing the Publicity and Education Committee, I think, Valencia? Right, who's been working really hard. And one of the things that you will see, and the Deputy Governor mentioned it.
Yes, Governor. Valencia chairs the Marketing, Public Relations, and Education Subcommittee of the Planning Committee.
Great. And thank you, DG. And we see
your things now.
Yeah. You're on screen now, so that's great. It works.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And by the way, without saying too much, one of the treats that you will see, and the Deputy Governor mentioned, is that virtual museum. Valencia has done extensive work on that, extensive research. That's one of the things we are all, myself included, looking forward to when that breaks, when that unfolds in July, I think it is. So with that, we now open the floor. Members of the media, any questions or comments?
Governor, you keep dancing in and out of the screen.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if we can.
I'm not dancing yet, I assure you. I know it's celebrations, but I'm not dancing physically. But I think there's a little issue with my video, which we will sort out. But while that is being done, we can in fact open up right away to members of the media for your questions and comments. So members of the media, you've heard the presentation. You should have copies of the calendar. If you don't, just signal to the country manager. We'll make sure that we get you that via email for those of you who are not here at HQ, headquarters. And we want to open it up for your questions and comments. So feel free to proceed.
Governor, CRD Governor is coming in and out. At some point, we are not hearing clearly. At least I'm not. I don't know if the others are. And the screen keeps flickering from that. So from the ECCB, it's flickering.
Yes. We are seeing the flickering.
I don't know if this can be changed.
Yeah. So the team is working to sort that out. I'm a little more concerned.
Is everyone seeing the flickering screen, or is it just me?
No, we are seeing it as well. DG, the screen is flickering. We're seeing that. What we're hoping is that the audio is clear, so that we.
DG, yes, we're seeing and.
Yeah. So while we sort out the flickering screen, we wanna keep going. So I'd like to open the floor now for any questions or comments on the calendar, please.
So if any member of the media, if you have any questions, we will begin to take the questions.
Yeah, DG, we have a
governor. And it affecting our region. What are some of the key areas that we need to pay attention to? And those areas, some of those areas became quite clear following our experience with COVID-19, our experiences with all of these natural disasters and the impact of that, and saying how do we look at these topics. And so the topics were then chosen of what they would look at the areas. So food security is a big thing. That became so, as I say, like a real and clear and present danger, like the book during COVID. Remember in the initial stage of COVID, when we did not know what was happening, we began stocking up in excess. And then we recognized, and even now we see with all of these supply chain issues, the prices, inflation. So those were some of the factors that assisted with that. And then in terms of how did they assign these topics to countries, some of it depended on, they also did a listing of some of the persons within our region that were, deemed to be good facilitators in various areas. And it was that also helped to determine which topic went to which country based on some of the presenters for the topic. But also we tried to create topics that were relevant to the countries. So with food security, that starts off our topic. In Anguilla, we know Anguilla is really very heavily dependent on tourism, but also in terms of dependent also on other countries for food. And so that came there. We look at Antigua in terms of traditional medicines, the prospects for medicine. And Antigua has, to a large extent, been a leader in terms of traditional medicine. I can think of a number of persons in Anguilla, it's Antigua and Barbuda, sorry, who are like naturalists, natural medicine. There's a strong focus and leaning in Antigua on that. So those were some of the factors that were considered in assigning topics as well as to the various countries.
Right. Thank you very much, Deputy Governor, for that. Any further questions, please?
Just me. Yeah, thank you, Governor. Good to see you folks again. Bennett Roach from Montserrat. Our Deputy Governor just mentioned a little bit. I was going to ask, what is traditional medicine? And traditional medicine, how is it different from anything else? But then you mentioned the natural herbs and so on and so on. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what that is going to be?
That is part of what it's going to be in terms of how we use traditional medicine, and which is really mainly the herbs. If you would go back, like I can think of Dominic, where I'm from, if you speak to older persons, they can give you a cure for almost everything that you have ailment with some traditional herbs. But the question is, how do we take those herbs? What are the uses? Can it be used for everyone? What are the dosages? So we take these traditional herbs sometimes without understanding the implications. And I think all of that is like a history, a lesson on the use of traditional medicine vis-a-vis, the other medicine. And we would always not discounting it. What do you call it? What is traditional medicine? What is the name of the other? Without discounting pharmaceutical medicine, for want of a better word, a concept here. And without discounting it, but looking at the interplay between the two.
Thank you very much. My other thoughts, as we go down, I want to know, when we're having all these things taking place in this country, that country, are all of us going to be, as it were, participating, at least following? We're going to have something like we're having now, and be able to participate in the activities from each territory?
Yes, you will be, and that is one of ECCB is one of the things we are very strong on, is inclusion of all our member countries. And so for our key events, all of these events, all of these lectures will be live streamed on our various social platform media, as well as through the radios and other media in each country. So if you're not on social media platform, there will be at least one radio station in each of the countries carrying this lecture live. And it's not just for the lecture, for most of the events that we have will be simultaneously broadcast throughout our 8 ECCU member countries.
Finally, unless one of my colleagues here have other questions. I noticed we have colors for some of these events. Yellow and green. What's the significance of the colors? Is there some significance in that? What is it? What do they stand for? Or what do they represent?
You're muted. You're muted.
DJ, you're muted. DJ, you're muted.
Thank you, Governor.
All right.
So the UN Sustainable Goals have many, for the various goals, they have attached colors to the goals. So the blue represents maritime, green is agriculture, yellow is technology, orange is creative economies. So it's using those colors to focus on the areas that we're focusing on. So let us take for Anguilla, that starts off the lecture series, food security. And food security from two fronts, the land and the sea. Because in our region, fisher folks are very important. Fishing is a key industry in our region. And so blue and green used there. So it's matching the colors from the UN Sustainable Goals to the topics that we have. Because when you think of it, each of these topics are in some way linked to the UN Sustainable Goals. In our quest to also achieve some of these goals that will assist in the achieving of our overall goal, our vision and our mission at the ECCB.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Deputy Governor.
Thank you, DG.
It's an example of the kind of education that we want to see happen during the year. Because, as she just explained, it is shining a light on the UN Sustainable Development Goals and its applicability for the Caribbean. Because sometimes we hear these things, they sound big and international. What does that mean for the people of the Caribbean? And by the way, on the blue economy, we often forget that notwithstanding our small states as islands, small size as islands, we are actually large ocean states, relatively speaking. And if we're going to really push the envelope on our development and transformation, we have to give serious focus to the blue economy, our oceans, how we use them for fisheries, for tourism, for recreation, for research, a range of issues. And I don't want to start the topic or lecture in Anguilla, but really and truly, that's an untapped area of our potential, and we hope we could bring that to the fore during this year of lectures and discussions. I think the gentleman from Montserrat had a colleague with a question, so could we still stay with Montserrat and have Montserrat come in with the questions?
Thank you, Governor, and thank you, DG. I look at the creative arts and festival and island night, and I heard the DG also expound about having foods and all of that. Is this going to be an in-person event, a hybrid event? How will this event be executed so that all of us are involved, really involved in it?
I'm curious to hear the answer from the DG on that one. So DG, you have the floor.
It is going to be a hybrid with a greater focus on in-person in St. Kitts. However, so you won't be able to experience the food if you are not in St. Kitts with us, but you will be exposed to the performing arts, the visual arts, the other creative arts. It will be an exhibition, and there will be some performances, and that will be live streamed across our ECCU member states. The island night with the performances will also be live streamed. The only thing is that for the taste of the countries, you would have to be in St. Kitts to appreciate it. So we would invite you to join us.
I like that answer, but I also have a suggestion, because as we're here to share with each other. It may be nice to have each of the territories do the different foods for the different territories. So while we have in the hybrid, we come to the office here or maybe somewhere where we share foods from St. Kitts, from Anguilla, from Dominica, because we do have those persons living in the different territories. So it could even get bigger than just being in St. Kitts, where people do experience the one-on-one.
That's a good idea, but I'll pass on to Governor for that. I guess we'll have to discuss that further and make a decision, but that's a good idea.
Give us food for thought, for sure, pun intended. But seriously, it's an idea worth considering. As the Deputy Governor said, excuse me, sorry, we're very keen to be inclusive. Our intent is to make sure we had 8-member currency union. Doesn't matter where you are in the currency union, we want you to be a part. So your idea about looking at how we could extend the culinary part of that celebration in our member countries is something the committee will take away and we will consider. So thanks for putting that on the table. Mr. Leroy Williams, SKNAS, and then I'm going to come to Linda Straker, Grenada.
Right, good afternoon.
What's his name again? I don't, Akafi Marie and Mr. Guy, and one other person to be confirmed. So those are some of the names that we have already as speakers.
Could you go back over the speaker for Antigua and Barbuda? I think the audio cut in had that issue right there, so I missed that.
Okay, so for Antigua and Barbuda, the proposed speakers are James Luke, Ricky Camacho, and Miss Natalie S. Nash.
Okay, thank you. Going back, one of my colleagues, I can't remember from which country, so forgive me, spoke about the Dcash. And you did go into very well discussion about your assessment of it and other topics, but I was just wondering whether or not what other banks have decided or have interacted with you in terms of intentions of joining the Dcash initiative.
I think all our indigenous banks are partners with us in the Dcash across our ECCU member countries. You will note that the ECCB is the first multi-state central bank to introduce digital currency, and the second in the world. The first was the Central Bank of Bahamas with the Sand Dollar, And ECCB was followed by Jamaica with the Jamaican Dcash. I can't remember the name off my head right now. And other countries and central banks are beginning to launch the Dcash. There has been discussion of interoperability between the various digital currency member countries, but that is not yet in effect. But in terms of access, all of our indigenous banks, and in fact, maybe thinking of it now, all of our banks in our region are members of partners in the Dcash. So you can go to your bank and open a Dcash wallet, but not just banks. We also have agents in all of the countries who can open where you can open a Dcash wallet. There's some different rules where in terms of the limit that you can open with an agent that's not a bank as against a bank. But the platform is being made in effect to facilitate Dcash as a means of, to be used more widely within our member states, member countries.
Thank you. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just add on Dcash. If you're hearing me, is my audio good?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear now.
Right. Thank you, Deputy Governor. Let me just add on Dcash, slight correction. Not every bank is fully registered yet, although most of the banks have committed to be registered. There are some banks who ask us for some time while they dealt with the transition associated with the acquisition of the Canadian bank operation. So whether that's RBC or Scotia before that in the case of Republic Bank. So some of these banks are going to be coming on board this year. But as the Deputy Governor indicated, even where your particular bank is not yet fully registered and active, you have customers in every country customers have the option of registering through a value-based wallet. So just to go back again, while we've been at this for almost 2 years, we need to make sure we don't make any assumptions. With Dcash, you have two options to use Dcash. A registered base wallet, which essentially means that you are using an existing bank or financial institution that's registered. Bank, credit union. That's a registered base wallet. That's what I use, for example. Then you also have the value-based option. You don't have a bank or credit union, or your bank or credit union is not yet fully registered and activated. Then you can opt to use an agent that is authorized by the central bank, and you can get a value-based wallet. And you can transact in Dcash. And we were very keen to do that to ensure that there is because financial inclusion is a stated objective of Dcash. And we did not want a situation where, because your bank has not yet joined, or you don't want to use a bank for whatever reason, you cannot participate, you are locked out. And so I just want to be very clear. You have the option right now of using an institution that's registered, bank or credit union, or a value-based wallet. And for those countries, some banks that have not yet come on stream, we have an indication that many of them, the additional ones, will join this year, now that they are further along with the process of the transition. Because as you know, when they acquired the Canadian operations, whether it's Scotia or RBC, it took a lot of effort. And they have, some of them, 12, 18-month transition plans to migrate the systems from what was there to their new system, to do all of the protocols around that. That's a lot of work. I don't think people understand that behind the scenes. And so they did say, some of them asked us to give them a little time to move that along, and then they would pivot to Dcash. So you will see more banks coming on board this year. And as the Deputy Governor indicated, we have in fact contracted now with a marketing partner to lead on the marketing side, because we have to be honest, we didn't do a lot of marketing initially. We accept that. In hindsight, we should have done more marketing earlier. And we've also identified key agents in countries to help. So in Grenada, it's Sonova. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it's Camille Crichton. We have different agents on the ground. And you will hear more and more of Dcash. Dcash is not going anywhere. It's going to be around, and we expect more and more people to participate. The fact of the matter is, more than 75% of all central banks in the world and now either testing or exploring the possibility of a digital currency. So this is, when we started this journey, it was seen to be a sort of innovation on the periphery of central banking. Today, central bank digital currency, as you will hear it called, which is what Dcash is central bank digital currency, not a cryptocurrency. It's not Bitcoin. With due respect, it's not Bitcoin or any one of those cryptos, those 19, almost 20,000 cryptos. It's not that. It has a full faith and backing of the assets, the balance sheet of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. That's a big distinction. It is regulated, it is safe. Now it is mainstream. Most central banks are now exploring digital currencies. So we were ahead of the curve, but we will now see over time more and more adoption. One of the things as well I might add that perhaps has constrained the expansion or the adoption is the lack of an e-commerce possibility. Many small businesses have said to us, we want to be able to use an e-commerce. We want a functionality that allows us to sell our products using Dcash in terms of going in the system just as you would use a debit card or credit card, having Dcash as an option. That e-commerce functionality has been prepared as demanded by our small businesses, and that will get rolled out in due course. The one other issue I'll mention may or may not interest some of you. The banks have asked us to consider integrating it with their core banking systems. That's a technical detail, but an important one. Because what that means is that in time, you, rather than calling your bank to make the shift, you can do it yourself, as you do with mobile banking. That's an important part. So in the post-pilot phase, that is definitely on the cards. We didn't do it initially because in the pilot, we were testing. We wanted to make sure we understood all of the impacts, get the feedback. But one of the things that clearly we've taken on board since the pilot was launched is the need for us to integrate it with the core banking systems. That would make it even easier for the banks to operate Dcash. So more on that later on in the year as we push forward with our plans for the pilot, post-pilot phase. Thank you. Any questions? Back to the media, members of the media, please.
I had one more question, but if you don't mind, or if my colleagues don't mind. My final question was in relation, I cannot remember who mentioned it, but it was mentioned that a lot of work is still needed to be done in the post-pandemic era for the bank. And I was just wondering what is your reflection of what work still needs to be done for the ECCB in this post-pandemic era? Can you just go into more details about that in particular?
Well, I'll take a stab at it, but I mean, first of all, at the broader regional level, the first thing we have to fix is regional air transport or air connectivity. That is top priority. And it is very clear that not only are we all suffering in terms of moving around, family, friends, going to a wedding, going to this, going to that, visiting family and so on, but tourism, our largest earner of foreign exchange, has been hampered its recovery by the fact that we do not have strong air connectivity. I remind you that about 1/3 of all arrivals into our region come from intra-Caribbean travel. In other words, on any given year, 1/3 of all arrivals into your country, any one of our countries, come from intra-Caribbean travel, us moving up and down. That has been hampered significantly by the lack of air connectivity or the limited air connectivity. In most countries, the only daily service that we have is American Airlines. And that means you have to have a US visa to travel to the Caribbean, as I have had to do for bank business. That is not an acceptable state of affairs. Time, cost, and everything is considered. I know the heads are working very vigorously on this issue. They get it. Something has to be done. And I know and I expect some announcements will be made soon. I will not obviously preempt those to address this vexing situation of air connectivity. So that's the first thing. It goes to tourism, it goes to regional integration, it goes to faster recovery. Beyond that, Deputy Governor teased it out a bit when she spoke about the first lecture, food and nutrition security. And I teased it out a bit when I gave my remarks at the lunch in terms of the big push. So clearly, food and nutrition security is key. The fact that the CARICOM World Food Program survey last year said that 57% of all of our people are dealing with either moderate or severe food insecurity. This is something that isn't getting the headlines around the world. Because if you look at the top 50 most food insecure nations in the world, none of the Caribbean countries, with the possible exception of Haiti, will make that top 50 list. And yet, for all, the survey findings show that about 57%, that's almost 3 in 5 of our people, are dealing with moderate or severe food insecurity. A lot of that has to do with inflation, because your dollar is only going so far and no more. So that's one issue. But there's the other side of this equation, which is nutrition insecurity. The fact that even when we have access to food, we're not eating the most healthy foods around. The truth of the matter is that almost 80% of everything we import in this region, our food, we import. 80% of our food, we import. And most of those foods are ultra-processed foods. And guess what? They are a major contributor to non-communicable diseases in our region. And I know you know the stats, but I have to repeat it because, again, it's a silent epidemic that we don't talk about enough. Almost 8 in 10 deaths in our region are attributable to non-communicable diseases. Diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, and so on. This is a major issue. It is not getting the kind of headlines that we got out of the pandemic. And so this issue of food security and nutrition insecurity is a real issue for the Caribbean. And we are kicking off our lecture series, as Deputy Governor said, with a focus on that with a lecture in Anguilla. And again, to the question that was asked from the media, the member of the media in Montserrat, everybody in the region should join into that discussion because it is a region-wide issue. It resonates everywhere. Then we have the issue of digital connectivity. We've had some challenges this afternoon. Some of it is internet-related. Depending on where you go in the region, you don't have fiber optic cable. You're operating with copper. That means you are limited in terms of speed and reliability. This is the 21st century. The digital economy is here, and we have to be ready as a region to be able to play in the digital economy. And by play, I mean not merely consume, but produce. So those are some of the issues of which we speak as we think about the post-pandemic period for our region. Air connectivity, food and nutrition security, digital connectivity. I did not mention energy, but I could easily talk about energy security. We see what we're paying for energy prices now. Oil prices are rising, and we are at the mercy of the global market. Somebody does something, geopolitics drives the price of oil. So tomorrow morning there's an event in any part of the world, and the price of oil shoots back up, and we are oil importers. So we are at the mercy of those who export oil and the prices. And that hurts our economies, it hurts businesses, it hurts households, it puts pressure on our governments. So I don't want to go on and on, but these are some of the key issues that our region has to deal with in this period to give us a fighting chance to not just come out of the pandemic stronger, but to really transform this region, which is what we're about. Mr. Leroy Williamson, Kitson-Nevis, SKNIS.
Governor and Deputy Governor, and I just want to commend the bank for putting together such a comprehensive calendar of events for its 40th anniversary. I remember when I was growing up, the central bank seemed to be something that was very remote. And over those 40 years, what I have seen is that the bank has become more involved in the community, in educating people, in terms of the economy, and so much more progressive in its work. And I think that has to do with the vision that the leadership of the bank has had, including yours, Governor Antoine, over the years. And looking at this calendar of events, I can really say that whoever put it together they did an excellent job. An excellent job. So I want to commend you and the bank and all who work here.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, and I will let the Deputy Governor, who chairs the committee, take the bow. Did you hear that?
Well, I did thank you very much, but the bow is not just mine to take. The bow is the bow of the members of the planning committee, subcommittee, and of course the executive, because if the executive want, everything has to be approved by the executive. So Governor, the bow is also yours, as well as CDP, who is the other member of the executive. And so all of us at ECCB, I will say to you, Mr. Williams, that, you know, we are really excited about putting on celebrating our 40th anniversary. The planning committee, the subcommittee members, and one of the things we have seen happening, which is so heartening, is that even members who are not members of either the subcommittee or the planning committee, they are volunteering their service, they are volunteering ideas, they are putting like all hands on deck to ensure that we present a world-class 40th anniversary. As one of our former senior directors would say, Mrs. Ingrid Short, flawless execution. And so we thank you, and we all take a bow on this, but we are not resting on any laurels. The calendar is just the calendar, it's the execution of the calendar that will determine the true success of the event. And as Governor has reiterated on more than one occasion, and we have all embraced at the ECCB, our focus is really on implementation, on making a difference. And Governor just listed about 6 of the key areas that we'll be working on, as well as other areas to ensure, you know, our region, you know, we don't just strive, really. I think we are really passionate about ensuring that we get to a stage where our people in our region thrive, where we all thrive, and be the best that we can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Governor, and of course we have to hail our predecessors, Sir Dwight, and before him, Sir Cecil, because we are just building, it's a relay. But thank you very much. We have St. Lucia. St. Lucia, could you come in, please, with your question?
Yeah, go first. Good afternoon, Calix George Jr. from Radio Caribbean International. Of course, thanks for the invitation. We came in a little bit late, so I actually have about 4 questions, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to get through all 4. But the first one is just to clarify on the program, the Spotlight Radio program, as well as the ECCU school quiz. Are those region-wide programs? Could you just give us some sense on that? Do you want to take the questions one by one, or?
Did you want to go ahead?
Okay.
Please.
Yes, let me just go ahead. The ECCB 40th, the Spotlight program, ECCB Weekly, my CRD hosts a radio program that's broadcast in each of the member states simultaneously. And every week they do it, but 1 week in the month, the Spotlight will be on ECCB at 40, looking at the 40th anniversary, providing information. Because as Governor said, one of the things we want to do in this 40th anniversary is to educate, to sensitize, and, you know, to bring the information to persons so that
the sovereign of some of these countries here, Queen Elizabeth II, I want to get a sense as to when that you may see new banknotes being rolled out or new coinage being rolled out. And there's also a big conversation, given that the Queen has passed, that she was the most visible woman around the world by virtue of her face. And that has raised a lot of interest in seeing more female faces on banknotes and coins. So is there going to be some potential consideration to seeing some female Caribbean faces on the EC dollar as we move forward?
Governor, you want to take that, or would you like me to answer that?
Agreement in respect of banking and financial issues will have precedence. And that is important because when you're dealing with banking business, as you know, it's very serious business. If you ask people, perhaps almost the most important thing is my money safe. They want to have confidence that their money is safe and they can access it when they want. And so banking is very, very serious business. And you do not want a situation that arises where there is confusion you have to go to court, you have to get lawyers involved. In the meantime, you have a situation you can't resolve. Now, by the way, you can still go to court for certain things. So this is not to say court is out, judicial review and so on. But it gives the bank the ability to act promptly and decisively if and when a situation arises. And so what we found out from around the world, that is best practice in banking. And that is why the amendment was recommended to the Monetary Council, approved by the Monetary Council, and then enacted. As we speak, I think that amendment has been passed in 6 of our 8-member countries. I don't have the list in front of me, but a majority of countries have already passed this amendment. And it has nothing to do with cryptos. We were not thinking about cryptos specifically or any particular banking situation. But sometimes you have to provide for what you cannot see. And let me give a simple example that's not on the ECCB agreement, but it sort of helps to make the point. In this new age, so you mentioned cryptos, but that's not about cryptos. But we've seen in recent times all sorts of development in the financial sector. And some countries, and by the way, Grenada has it. If you look at the GAFIN Act, the Grenada Financial Regulatory Authority, their non-bank financial regulatory authority, if there is an activity that you can't recognize or you have no specific legislation to cover, that promoter must be able to go to a regulator, some public entity, to seek permission to register to license. That's not what this amendment is about, but I'm giving the example to say, sometimes in legislation, you have to think beyond what you can see and be prepared for something that you may not have foreseen, but when it arises, you have to respond. That ECCB agreement amendment deals with that. So it's not specific to cryptos. But to give another example, I know of situations in different laws where you have such a clause to ensure on the non-bank side, if a situation arises that you have not seen before, it's not specifically covered in the law, that there is provision to treat with it. Because you've heard the situation sometimes, oh, well, it's not in the law, that means it's not legal. But there's no covering. In financial business, you have to have covering because the public confidence, public safety is at risk. And so you have to always ensure that there's provision there. So it went through most of our countries without any issue because I think they understood the need for the central bank to have that authority to deal with unforeseens.
Governor, there is a question posed by Jarvis Brown of Voice of VON, Voice of Nevis. I guess that means he is having difficulty reading out. So I'll just read his 2 questions. One, by holding the events to mark the 40th anniversary, what is the ECCB's ultimate goal? And 2, what can the public expect from the ECCB this year in terms of initiatives, for example? So what do we hope to achieve by holding the events to mark the ultimate goal, and what can the public expect from initiative? I'll take a stab at the first, and Governor, you'll come in for the second.
Yes, DG, go ahead, right ahead.
So as I indicated when I presented the calendar, I think in answer to an earlier question, one of our ultimate goals for hosting and marking our 40th anniversary is, one, to educate and sensitize our public on ECCB, who we are, what we do. 2 is, again, and even in educating and sensitizing, is for inclusion, participate. So that is why every activity, or the majority of activities, will be live streamed across all our 8-member countries simultaneously. And the reason for that is for that to kind of bring and to embrace our 8-member states, to send a loud message that we are one, we are the ECCB. 3 is to focus, yes, on celebrating, because 40 years is a milestone in any measure that you look at it. And is to recognize too the contributions of the persons from the past who would have laid the foundation. And even in our recognition of laying the foundation, we go all the way back to ECCA, the predecessor to ECCB, and to the ECCB, the laying of the ground. And if you will recall, at the launch on January 19th, one of the a key feature at the launch was when we made presentation was made to the Right the Honorable Sir Kennedy Simmons, the sole living member of the signatories to the ECCB agreement, which took place on July 5th, 1983, taking effect on October 1st, 1983. And it's to recognize the work of that. We also recognize the work of the designer of the logo, the original designer, as well as the person who also put the colors into the logo. So it's also kind of a recognition of the past, because you have to want to know your past to really pluck for your future, but also to galvanize the ECCU into the furtherance of the work of the bank. And what a part of our key work is financial stability, to maintain the financial stability of the country, to ensure the stability of our currency. And over the years, 40 years, we have done that well. And we plan to do that well forever. We are pegged to the ECC, to the US dollar. We must keep a minimum backing ratio of 60%. We have always exceeded that by far. And again, it's that. But also there are new initiatives on board. And Governor will speak to some of those initiatives that we have. But we have in the last few years done a lot of things. Our solar panel project. In fact, we also won an award for that. Dcash, we won an award for that. The polymer notes that we introduced recently, we also won an award for the best regional note series. So it is also to highlight some of the work that has been done, but also to encourage and to galvanize action from our member states towards addressing the issues that affect us all to achieve our goal of advancing the good of our people, where we don't just strive, but we thrive. Governor, I hand over to you to address the one more in terms of add to this, but also to speak about the initiatives that we have planned.
Yeah, thank you, DG. Let me mention two. One is the credit bureau. One of the issues we hear up and down the region is lack of access to credit. Lack of access to credit. And therefore, we are pushing forward with the credit bureau, which, as I've always explained, is to enable responsible lending and responsible borrowing. In many modern economies, you have credit bureaus or credit registries. We do not have one yet in the Eastern Caribbean currency. We just launching one. There was a soft launch in December, but you're going to see and hear a lot more about it in the next few weeks and months. That is key to allow people to access, especially small businesses even. I've said before, a lot of times people get access in this region because of who they know. And if you don't know the right connections or have the right connections, you may not get access. Whereas what should be the basis really is your name. What's your ability, your capacity to repay a loan and to be able to do things and to take initiative. And so the credit bureau is important. By the way, I have to repeat, because even after 2 years, many people still don't know. We launched in October 2020 the Partial Credit Guarantee Program. That program is aimed at giving access to credit for small businesses, essentially through financial institutions, banks, credit union, development banks. It allows or offers guarantees for up to $750,000, $750,000 with a 75% guarantee. It's slowly picking up. We want to see it move faster, and there's a special marketing effort which you will hear about in the next few weeks, months, to bring more attention to it. But that was designed to give more access to credit, because that's an issue we hear people talk about all the time. The other thing I'd mention is the matter, and our Chief Director for Policy spoke on this in a recent podcast, and more will come. The establishment of an Office for Financial Conduct, including a financial ombudsman, a big word to say to help protect customers in their dealings with banks, credit unions, financial institutions. People are concerned about high fees and charges. People are concerned about not always getting the best service. People are concerned about not feeling or not being treated right. And who should they go to? Right now, the law does not give ECCB authority to intervene in those matters. Sometimes we may make a call and make an appeal using moral suasion. But the truth is that we have no authority in law to enforce anything, to demand anything. Even the changing of fees. The most we could tell a bank is, ask a bank is, have you given the customer notice? And notice under the law means 30 days. And we may even ask, so why are you doing this? And they may or may not give us an answer. The law does not give ECCB authority to approve or not approve fees. A lot of people think we have the authority to do it, we don't. And so one of the things that will be coming is, as I said, this Office of Financial Conduct. And really it is about creating an environment where people can get some justice with respect to their transactions. If you have an issue, who do you call? Who do you go to? There'll be an ombudsman, an office. There'll be agents in the member countries. So we establishing the office at this central bank with agents in the member countries so people can go in directly, send in their things directly, and get some kind of redress. So we have to get legislation through to enable that. We're planning to put proposals before the Monetary Council later this year. We've already gone to the Council with the initial proposal in terms of the outline. They said, yes, we want you to do this. You heard the chairman when he came for the launch, encouraging us to proceed. We are pushing forward, and more on that to come. So I'll stop there. We have a question from Lisa Peter in St. Lucia. Ms. Peter, could you come in, please?
Hi, good afternoon, Governor. Thanks for inviting me. I also represent Radio Caribbean International. I'm the sales rep for the ECCB. And looking at that theme, powering a modern St. Lucia, and you all had green and golden economy is highlighted, and St. Lucia making a concerted effort to transition the economy into a more socially inclusive and also sustainable and green, making it green, you know. So I get that aspect of incorporating the green economy, but what is the golden economy and how does it fit into the theme for powering a modern day St. Lucia and also aligning itself with the objectives of the ECCB?
All right, thank you, Ms. Peter. DG, do you want to take that?
Okay, yes, I can start off. So the gold economy focuses on energy and renewable energy, trying to correct the impact of the brown economy, which is fossil fuel. And so as we St. Lucia transitions and power the new St. Lucia, and as we talk about the green, about sustainability, but sustainability also addressing energy issues, sustainability addressing renewables, solar energy, the greater use of solar energy, the greater use of renewable energy to power the growth of St. Lucia. So that is where the gold is added, is for greater focus for sustainability too, which is where the green also focuses on sustainability for greater focus on the renewable energy. ECCB is leading the way on that too. As I spoke earlier about the solar project that we have, our battery solar project, where we have actually won an international award for that. So hopefully by the end of this quarter, Governor, I believe, we will be almost 100%, if not fully, self-sustaining in terms of our energy needs, and leading the example and encouraging our member countries so to do. Because again, as Governor explained so well, we see the increasing cost of energy. We see we are almost being held captive. And how do we make ourselves less dependent on fossil fuel and other energy and become more sustainable as we focus on renewable, using what we have, solar, hydro, wind, to provide and meet our energy needs. That is part of the focus. And for St. Lucia, that would also assist well, because we know that tourism also plays a big part in the economy of St. Lucia. And that greater attention given to the renewables would assist in meeting the needs of the tourism sector.
Right. Thank you, Deputy Governor. We'll look to wrap up in about 5-10 minutes, but we just want to make sure we don't leave out anyone. We had a couple little technical issues, so we just want to make sure we get everyone. Just to be clear, we are in fact installing battery storage as we speak, And we will be commissioning our battery storage later this month as in February, at which point we will be pretty much at the 100% or thereabouts in terms of generation of our renewable energy, well, solar PV for our renewable energy needs. But I think it might be an interesting exercise for media to take all the colors of the economy, the gold, the silver, the purple, the orange, and so on, and do a little expose, link it to your country, just a little idea to help build that awareness. And of course, as we do the lectures, I think we will provide more and more clarity and hopefully get people more and more excited about working on these issues. We have a question from Mr. Leroy Richardson of Anguilla. So Mr. Richardson, you have the floor. Mr. Richardson, are you hearing us? You have the mic. We're not hearing Mr. Richardson. While we wait to try to see if we can get him in, is there anyone else before we move to a conclusion of this media availability session? Is there anyone else? Antigua and Barbuda, your hand is up. Carol, our country manager. Mrs. Fort Harrigan, do you have someone with a question?
No, we do not, Governor. Apologies for that.
No problem. Good to see you. Welcome. Good, good. All right. So, Mr. Richardson, Anguilla, are you on? Unfortunately, we're not hearing him. If you're not hearing us and you could drop the question in the chat, we could quickly check it and answer before I offer the floor to the mic to DG for closing comments, and then I'll just say a word of thanks. So, anything in the chat from anyone? Any questions there? What, just read it? Yeah. And I'll just repeat it.
So the question from Leroy Richardson. Anguilla depends heavily on importation, food materials, and to a large extent ordering from Amazon, eBay, and other exporting companies. Would we be able to make payments using Dcash, or is it still to be sorted out?
Right. So the question is, thank you, Karina. The question is really whether or not Dcash can be used to make payments internationally. The answer is not yet, but I will tell you in the post-pilot phase, the next phase of Dcash, we do have the possibility of making it more available to the diaspora. So by the way, anybody in the diaspora can use Dcash now, but they have to use it in EC dollars. So I have used Dcash while I'm in London, for example. I did that last year. But the reality is that you can't use US dollars. Now we have an advantage in the ECCU. We have a fixed exchange rate regime. As the DG explained, we are pegged to the US dollar. So a lot of the exchange rate risk that some countries would have because of fluctuating exchange rates, we do not have that. Our focus initially was on the domestic side. Get the currency union up and running, get people involved, see how it works in here. But we have been getting requests to have a more direct way for the diaspora to use Dcash. And that is something that we're planning to entertain. So in a post-pilot phase, today is not the day to make these big announcements. That is something that we're definitely looking to do. So not yet, Mr. Richardson, but that's certainly in our plans. And with that, Deputy Governor, could you offer your final comments, if you have any, please?
Thank you, Governor. Again, I just want to thank all the media persons who came out and to thank them for partnering with us. And to say to them that we are looking forward to their continued partnership in the course of this year to help to disseminate our calendar of events widely throughout the region, to also hold various conversations and radio programs and TV programs on the 40th anniversary, on ECCB, so that to help us in ensuring that information, that sensitization and public awareness happens. I also want them to feel free to contact us if they need any further information, if they need guidance or they need material for a particular program on the ECCB or the ECCB 40th anniversary, to feel free to contact us. We are here to serve. We are here to work together with them in serving the wider public. And so I just really thank them, really happy that they turn out in such large numbers. I'm happy they participated fully. The questions posed covered a wide range of areas and issues. And as Governor suggested, it even provides food and material for various programs on the colorful economy, on the Dcash, on the solar project, so many things that we can speak about, on financial stability. So let us continue to be partners and working together to achieve our goal. Thank you so much. Governor, I hand over to you.
Thank you, Deputy Governor, and thank you for taking us through excellently the calendar of events. And of course, I want to add my thanks to you and the members of the Planning Committee. Let me just say to you, members of the Fourth Estate, you are critical in this democracy. And I know you're under-resourced, underappreciated, and what you do often is a thankless job. You're not perfect, but neither am I, no one is. And so what we want to do is to support you as best as we can. If we could supply information for you, just ask. You heard from the Deputy Governor. If you feel that we can partner with you in a way that will help to advance the work on a particular issue that we care about, that's in our strategic plan, that we could put something together, put an idea, recommend something. If you think a particular workshop, we've done it a couple of times, maybe not as much as we should. We've had dedicated sessions where we provide some capacity building for you in an area. Let's say it's digital currencies, and you may have done some research, but you'd like some additional extra. We could arrange a session, bring in a couple of our economists, a couple of us could make ourselves available and so on. I'm saying to you, we are at our disposal. We serve you just as we serve the people of the currency union. And if you see a need, maybe we haven't seen it or we haven't actually designed something specific for you, I want you to reach out to us. The worst that we could say is no. And you might be surprised, we might just say yes. So let's partner together. And let me just encourage you. Many of you are young at heart, young people in the business. It's a brutal business sometimes, and I have sympathy for the challenges that you face in media. But I want to say to you that you are important, and anything we can do to partner and support, feel free. By the way, we will have a new website very shortly. We are aiming to launch at the end of March. And we hope it will be a lot more, we know it will be a lot more user-friendly in terms of accessing data, information, locating things, and so on. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you and the public. But there are other things as well we have in our plans for communications in general, because we feel we could improve the way we communicate as well. So you'll see some more of that this year, but if you have an idea, reach out and let us know. We are all ears. We are open for your feedback. With that, I say thank you to everyone who's joined us, from members of the media. I also thank our country managers who facilitated by opening their offices. And I thank our colleagues here at our bank headquarters in St. Kitts and Nevis who supported us with the technical side in terms of the broadcast today. My thanks to all of you. God bless you all.
Every week they do it, but 1 week in the month, the spotlight will be on ECCB at 40, looking at the 40th anniversary, providing information. Because as Governor said, one of the things we want to do in this 40th anniversary is to educate, to sensitize, and to bring the information to persons, so that one
trees or states, as we heard.